I have no thoughts. Hello, I'm going to show you how I make plates on the potter's wheel using a rolling pin. I'm going to decorate them with Oghams. I'll explain what an Ogham is later, but for now, let's make some plates. I've got 4 lumps of clay, 1 kilogram each. The clay I'm using today is Scarva ES10. Yeah, it's the one clay that I use for everything really. I throw to a disc shape and I use a very wet rolling pin, some water on the clay and push down while the wheel is spinning. It might catch a little bit. If it does, lift it off, re-wet the pin, a bit more moisture in the clay and go again. We are aiming for 26 centimeters. So we want to be a little bit bigger than 26. This is too short for now, but just to give you an idea, we're at 22. Okay, now we're at 27. What I want to do is find 26 centered within this. So I just take 13 from the center, 13 from the middle. Get my needle tool. I'm just going to mark where 13 is. Because the disc is wider than 26, I'm losing some excess, which is ideal. With a steady hand, starting with the indentation, turn the wheel on and cut down to the bat. Needle tool out, wheel off, cut the excess and just remove. This isn't really throwing, there's no throwing involved. I'm just going to clean up the edges and then I'm going to wet the edges. Now using a little knife tool. I go in, just because of the tool that I have and for uniformity, I tend to push the knife tool in to as far as this side, which is probably about 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch. So I go in with the wheel on and lift the lip a little bit. Just go steady. There's no rush. And there we go. I'm just going to wet the plate a little bit. Wet my hands. Get the tool back in and just accentuate the difference from the flat bit to the rim. Just a tiny bit, but that's just preference. Sponge off the excess water. And then we want to wire off because it is such a wide piece. It could, while drying, when it's contracting, it could crack because there's such a large area for it to contract on. So just make sure your wire is nice and taut and then try not to ruin it at the last step. Taut and with downward force. There we go. It's a pretty easy way to make a plate. We'll see how well it turns. And here are the plates and the bonus phase. The plates have finally popped off their bats. Not as cleanly as I would have liked, but so I've got this little flaky bit to get rid of, and I'm going to trim them all and just add a little foot ring in the bottom. This little flaky area is so annoying. I hoped it would come off really easily if I started turning, but it was just making it a bumpy ride. That's all the plates turned. They were a little drier than I would have liked, but I had to wait until they popped off the bat. I wired these off while they were on the bat as soon as I finished throwing them, thinking that would make it so much easier to turn them once they were a little bit dry. But they kind of half rejoined to the bit that I'd wired off. It made for really messy turning. I still had to wait for them to fully dry to pop off the bats, so it was kind of the worst of both worlds. So next time, I'm not sure if I should have left it to dry and pop off the bat by itself, which would be drier than ideal, or if I should have wired them off the day after I threw them. They might have held their shape a little bit better. I have 4 survivors. 1 has a crack, so that'll be the test. That brings us to 5. There were 6 originally. 1 I broke on the way to the kiln, which is very sad, but that's okay. 4's not bad. This is the first batch, this is the test, and now I have the cracked piece to test the glazing on. So what I'm going to do with these is I want to use cobalt oxide to draw an Ogham onto the plates and then clear glaze the whole thing. And I'm going to read this next bit from Wikipedia because I don't know my history. So Ogham, which is spelled O-G-H-A-M, is an early medieval alphabet used primarily to write the early Irish language and later the Old Irish language. The bulk of the surviving Ogham stones are in the Irish province of Munster, which is where I am. Oghams, if you haven't seen them before, I've chosen short words for ease of use. So I've got gra, that's love, brod is pride, bia is food, and clan is family. What I learned last time was that a very little bit of oxide goes a long way. Yeah, my weighing scale isn't sensitive enough to say how much that was, but it was a very small amount, and 9 grams of water. Oh, that might be too little oxide. This is why we have a test piece. Yeah, that's too little. That's too runny. So I'm taking off some of the liquid. The oxide settled really quickly in the vessel, so this looks surprisingly clear. It's obviously not clean water, but it'll save me adding more oxide and creating a massive batch that I don't need. So this is a bit better. They were the first tests. They were just too faded, and that's the more recent one since I took a little bit of water out. So I'm happy with that one. I think the thing about drawing lines is you have to do it with confidence. You have to pretend to have confidence. Road. It's not how you say it. Yeah, I'm pleased with that so far. Gotta get them clear glazed next. Oh, I smudged the... I don't know if that's helping. I don't think that's helping. Yeah, that didn't help. Oh God, stop making it worse. Be careful when lifting them, clearly. Oh God. Oh, is my bucket big enough? The answer is no, it is not. Or maybe if I tip the bucket. That felt so risky, but it worked. Oh, God, I'm so dramatic. What you can't see is the spilled glaze on the floor from me tipping the bucket. I always find glazing so stressful. This didn't go very well. This one, I've smudged the oxide, unfortunately, and it's really visible. This one, this was just pure bad luck. Some condensation in the studio collected on the ceiling in the corner and dripped onto this when it was covered in glaze but not fired. So there are little kind of like puddle marks, which is really, really bad luck. This one's warped. This one's warped, and there's a bit of grit. It feels like sand, like something got trapped in the glaze. So all four have a flaw. Lots of different flaws. The warping I can explain. I used these. I thought they might be plate setters. They came with the kiln. We got it secondhand. I was dubious about whether or not it would warp the plate. Clearly it did. I thought I'd try it though. It's clearly not a plate setter. I don't know what it is. If you know that, it'd be great. I haven't been able to find it online, but it would have been the perfect size. So one went under, one on top, stack on top. It would have been a really efficient way to fire them, but that's only if it works, which it didn't. So I can't do anything about the smudged oxide. What I'm going to do to maybe try and save them, make them useful, is the warping and the issue with the transparent glaze on this one, and even a bit of grit, can possibly be saved by a refire. So I'm going to give that a go. I'm just hoping that they might settle onto the kiln shelves as they're refiring and it will undo the warping. I'm not sure if that is realistic or not, but it's the only thing I can try to do. Otherwise, they're all pretty much, apart from one, unusable. So we'll fire again. That's actually getting it a little bit. Oh, shit. Oh my God. Ironically, I'm not very proud of this. Let's see if they're warped. Oh, it's still a little bit, but I think it's improved. I'm happy with that. I think that's improved as well. Yeah, that's definitely improved. That's great. So that's two. The clan one, still a little bit of the glaze isn't covered. I don't think I'm going to fire it 3 times. I'm happy with that for household use. I think the clay is glazed enough. I'm quite sad about the Broad. The Pride plate. I have no thoughts. Maybe firing it twice was too much stress for this piece for some reason. Oh, the rough bit's quite smooth now. That's really nice. That's the bit that I had chipped away and reglazed. Little bit sad. What was that? 6 plates I started with and only 3 made it to the end. That's not a great survival rate. I think I'll probably try these again at some stage. I love the concept. And I think I've learned a few things that I would be careful of next time. Mainly not using incorrect kiln furniture. That was the biggest flaw. That was directly my fault. I'm forgiving myself for the condensation dripping onto the plates. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you find it interesting. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you like this, please like and subscribe and have a great day. Thanks, bye.